Order, City of Longview Planning and Zoning meeting for June 17th, 2014. Please stand for the invocation, which I will do this evening. Lord, our Father in heaven, we humbly approach you this evening. Please be with us as we conduct this meeting in peace, reason, and logic. Please be with us individually, such that each of us is your child, that we remember the people we deal with daily are also your children. Please be with our nation's leaders. They need your guidance more than ever, especially now. Please be with our troops in the field as they protect our liberty and freedom. Thank you for sending your Son, Jesus Christ, as a sacrificial lamb. All these things we pray in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Item number 4, approval of the May 20th, 2014 Planning and Zoning minutes. We have any additions, corrections, deletions?
There being no additions or corrections, I move approval.
Second.
Have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda are plats that meet the requirements of the City of Longview subdivision ordinance. These items will be approved with one vote unless any member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, any member of the public, or the applicant would like the item removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda for discussion. Do I hear any request to move the consent agenda? Having none, do I have a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
Having a motion second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right. The purpose of this meeting is to hear all pertinent testimony of those in support of and in opposition to the applications before the board. Tonight is the first of 2 public hearings required to approve a change in zoning. The board also considers plats. The procedure for public hearing items to be followed tonight will be the public hearing will be open and testimony will be heard in the following order: the applicant, the staff, and then the general public, those in support and in opposition to the request. If you are part of a large group with a common interest, we ask that you appoint a spokesperson rather than each individual restate the same information. When addressing the board, please begin by stating your name and address. Try to limit your comments to 5 minutes. When all sides have spoken, the public hearing on the matter will be closed and no further public discussion will be entertained. After each public hearing is closed, the board will vote on the request. The zoning request and the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation will go forward to the second public hearing, which will be conducted by the City Council on July 17th. Okay. Item 6, regular agenda. Item A, a public hearing will be held to consider application HL 14-02 filed by Preservation Longview requesting a local historic landmark designation for a structure known as the Judge J.N. Campbell House located at 433 South Center Street. Who here represents this request? Please come.
Lynette Goodson. I'm the president of Preservation Longview.
And your address.
P.O. Box 2681, Longview, Texas.
Now, no one lives in a P.O. box.
You're right. I live in a house in the north part of Longview. I am inside the city limits.
Okay,
Is that good enough?
that's good enough. Tell us about your project.
Okay, so this house was built in 1872, which is the same year that Longview became a city. It was built by 2 18-year-olds that were newlyweds. And this house was built in a very contemporary style at that time. And we found out a lot of this as we have gone through the restoration process. So we entered into this thinking one set of information, and the findings, we have found other things along the way. And this 18-year-old man used hair pomade made in France, which today we've got liners that come over. And so the more we find out about this house, the more we find out about the people of Longview. And so this young couple, circumstances changed, and they sold the house and they moved out to Pine Tree, and then Judge Campbell bought the house, and he remodeled the house. And so our plan is to take the house back to how he remodeled it after the turn of the century. So we want to preserve his imprint on that house. There was a dancing porch on the house, which you can kind of see there on the sketch. And the historians, both at the state and the national level, believe this is the only house with the dancing porch. And the balcony you see up there was also added to the house for live musicians to play so that these young people could dance on the dancing porch. Because the judge's brother was the second Texas governor, and of course that would not be acceptable for his daughter to be dancing at the honky-tonks, so he built this porch and the balcony so that they could dance in the home. The interior of the home has wood slats on an angle. And in our research, it's not my personal research, but people who do this for a living, the only place they have found a similar interior of the house is in Rhode Island. So when the Texas State Historic Commission has been here, they go, this is an incredible house, that they've never seen anything like it in Texas. So again, as we work on it, we continue to find out a whole lot more about the house, about the people who live there, the people who built it. And we want to make that available so that people of East Texas find out about this. And we've done so much destruction of our historic homes in Longview that, it's a shame we've lost those, but we definitely want to make sure that this is protected. In 2009, we were placed on the State of Texas Most Endangered list. So, we're doing all we can to preserve it, restore it, tell the story. And that last picture that you just saw, that's really where we want to go back to, is right there. Because through the years, with the housing shortage during the wars, that porte-cochere on the right was enclosed to make a room. We've removed that due to rot, and that's how it will be rebuilt. And you can see the chairs on the dancing porch there. So if you go by and look at the house right now, we had to remove the front of the house due to rot. The columns have been restored, and we will start construction tomorrow to rebuild that. So if you look at it right now, okay, this is it right now, it's a mess. But we've been doing a lot. We had to rebuild the foundation. I was there when we tore that porch off. So the dancing porch was removed in the 40s when they chopped it up and made it into apartments. And they put on a traditional concrete front porch, and I was there when that concrete porch was removed. They built it on builder sand. So over time, of course, the expansion and contraction, a lot of rain and droughts, and it cracked right down the middle. We didn't know, we knew it was cracked, but we didn't know the story of all that sand under there. So that is what caused the whole front of the house to drop. So we had to do a lot more stabilization of the foundation, and that's why that whole porch had to come off, and the state knows that. We got that approved by everybody. And then we will start rebuilding that tomorrow. And it's being made structurally sound. So like when they took all that off, they brought to us the pin that was holding that balcony up, and it was about this big and about this big around, and all of us had been out on that balcony, and it's like, oh my gosh. So the beam that will support that had to be specially made to meet the engineering specs. So as we're redoing everything, this is how it looks today. We've had everything wrapped. So when we rebuild that, it's going to be much more structurally sound. That's the front of the house. It's going to be much more structurally sound to support the live musicians on that balcony and increased load, occupancy load when we have events at the house.
Okay.
Have I told you enough? Do you have specific questions?
Commissioner, questions?
I guess I just have an overall question.
Sure.
From the historic standpoint, it says here that this was constructed in 1872.
Correct. The same year that Longview became a city.
Right. Do we have many, I mean, are we coming, have you come across many houses that go back this
No.
far, that's still around?
No, they've been destroyed.
Okay.
The teak house is older. And many of those older structures burned, because of lack of safety. But on Preservation Longview's website, we actually have something called the Lost, Hidden, and Safe Homes of Longview, because Longview had incredible homes, and many of them were destroyed in the 70s, which is tragic.
Yeah.
Tragic, tragic.
Thank you.
Sure.
Who currently owns the house?
Preservation Longview.
Preservation Longview. And then, I'm just curious, when you get everything restored,
What are we going to do with it?
what are you gonna do with it?
Question, most common question. You can't really see it here, but there are 2 lots to the right of the house, and we have acquired those. And what we want to do is have the house available for tours to tell the story of Longview. And we hear people erroneously say that Longview used to be poor, and people don't want to be reminded of that. The more we find here, the more we found out exactly the opposite, that there was a lot of wealth in Longview, and that this house is representative of a lot of that wealth. So, like when different groups have heard that, they perk up and they're like, we need to tell people that. So we're going to have proof of that in this house. And so we want school children to come through to find out about our state history. And a lot of the reason that Texas became a state when it did was because of the wealth in Longview. The railroad came through here, north and south, east and west. It was a very pivotal part of the economic future of our state. So we want the house to be a museum. We also want it to be functional so that a bride could rent the house and grounds for her wedding and for her to get dressed. So when we came before the city several years ago, Debbie Fontaine of Edible Art came and spoke and talked about how many cakes, wedding cakes, she delivers every weekend outside of Longview to historic properties in Gladewater, Marshall, and Jefferson. We don't have any. So we're in the plans on the second floor, we're putting in a large dressing room with lots of electricity so we can handle blow dryers, curling irons, anything to support a bride getting ready for her wedding day. And the drawings of the grounds, which I don't know if you guys have that, but we're making it so that there's multiple options for outdoor weddings. So it'll be very beautiful with natural vegetation, so that a bride doesn't have to spend a lot of money like she would having to decorate a church, that we can have our natural beauty, which I think East Texas is one of the most beautiful places in the world, that she can have a very beautiful wedding with this historic home and just really pretty grounds.
Okay. Any other commissioner questions?
Comment, good luck.
Thank you very much.
It will.
We've been working on this for a very, very long time. And we,
It costs some money.
oh yes, it does, and a lot of effort. And we have the historic Longview Farmers Market. And we're there every Saturday morning, and we get to tell the story about the house to people every week at the market.
But the funding for the reconstruction and I guess the upkeep and operation would come through either the Historical Society or whatever
We're
grants.
constantly raising money, constantly. We always, right now, we've got 2 fundraisers planned, one for July at Johnny Casey's and a fun run walk in September. So we're constantly raising money.
I just see your reconstruction costs being staggering, but, that's,
Oh, and that's why people say, when are you going to be finished? And we're like, we're just going to do the right thing every day. And when we get finished is when we're finished. Because when you put a timeline out there is when you create anxiety. We want to do it right. And we believe that when people see more and more work being done, that they will, we have lots of supporters, but we believe that once they see that being done, that their support will continue throughout the project. We've had loyal supporters since day one.
Are there any grants available for this?
Oh, yes, we go after every grant we have. We've
Yeah.
gotten 4 grants from the National Historic Trust. So we have a very good track
That's good.
record on grants. Most of them are matching grants, which is why we're constantly doing things to raise money and let people know what we're doing.
Been there.
Any other questions for commissioners? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Staff comments?
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Preservation Longview is requesting to designate the Judge J.N. Campbell House as a local historic landmark. This will be Longview's second local landmark if this designation is approved. This property merits designation under criteria listed in Section 26-105 of the zoning ordinance, the historic preservation section of the zoning ordinance. The Judge J.N. Campbell House meets several of these criteria, such as being a recorded Texas historic landmark with the state of Texas. It also possesses significance in respect to history, culture, architecture, and social fabric of the city and state, as well as they have, the owners of the house have been significant to the city as well as the state of Texas. As staff recommends approval of this request, as well as the Historic Preservation Commission.
Thank you, Angela. Commissioner questions for staff? Hearing none. The public hearing is now open for application HL 14-02. Who present wishes to speak in additional support? Who present wishes to speak in opposition to this request? Having none, the public hearing for application HL 14-02 is now closed. Do I have a motion?
Move approval of application HL 14-02.
Second.
Have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Staff update.
All items at council were approved.
All items? Excellent. Citizen comment. Having none. Commissioner comment. Having none. Did I get them all covered this time? I did not leave any out?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. This meeting's adjourned.